What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another tutorial. It's been a month since my last tutorial, but my last tutorial was actually the most successful tutorial that I've had so far, so that's nice. I want to talk about phase cancellation today. Phase cancellation is a kind of one of those things that, as a producer, you don't really think about it until it's too late. And hopefully with this video you will know a little bit more about it, and you'll be more cognizant of it as you move forward in your productions. What is phase cancellation? Phase cancellation is when you have something going on in the stereo spectrum that things are either in phase or they're out of phase when you have your stereo spectrum going on. Basically, stereo spectrum is two mono audio signals panned hard left and right, and depending on if things are out of phase when you're doing stereo type effects, mainly like phasing and things like that, if they get out of phase, they can end up canceling each other out. And let me show you a quick example of what this can sound like, or what it cannot sound like. What I have right here in my first audio channel, or my only audio channel, is just a sine wave test generator. Okay, it's just a test generator giving me a sine wave at 209 hertz. And if I just unmute this channel, it's giving you the sine wave. Okay. So this is just like the audio in its purest form is just a sine wave at a certain frequency, just giving a clean, a waveform. And so I turn that on. It's giving me my waveform right here, as you can see. Nice, clean little sine wave. What I have this routed to these two effects channels right here. And what I'm going to do, so this isn't routed directly to the stereo out. This is routed to these two effects channels. And what I'm going to do with these effects channels is pan hard left and hard right on this sine wave. Okay? So, it's still very audible. It's just hard left and hard right. And if I flip over to mono, it's not going to change anything. So I'm just going to flip to mono real quick. Can't really hear anything. And although these are panned hard left and hard right, since it's the exact same signal going both hard left and hard right, basically what you're hearing is you're not hearing a stereo signal. It's basically going back down to mono. Okay, so right here in my mixer, I have right here a phase flip, and if I press this, this is going to invert the phase. Okay, so quick disclaimer, if you're listening to this tutorial, I would advise you to listen to it on headphones or on speakers or something. If you're listening to this on your phone and your phone is in mono, then that's kind of going to cause a bunch of crazy stuff going on. So I would encourage anybody listening to this to listen to it on a set of speakers or a set of headphones or something like that. Okay. So going back, I'm going to turn my sine wave on. I've got my sine wave, and I'm going to flip the phase right here. And as you can tell here on my multi-scope, right now with the phase not flipped, you see the sine wave. It's going in the same direction. Okay. If I flip the phase, suddenly this one is going in the opposite direction as the other one. And this isn't a problem right now. If I'm listening to this in stereo, it's whatever. But listen to what happens if I put it in mono. Suddenly the signal goes completely away. Okay? And what's happening is that the phase is canceling. If it's in stereo and it's going back into a mono output, it's canceling each other out, and it's leaving you where you have absolutely no signal. Okay, so once again, this is I'm listening. I have this in mono right now, so the stereo output is in mono. This is in stereo, so you can kind of hear it in mono. Signal's completely gone. Okay, if I go over here to my scope, this over here on the far left is your phase correlation meter, and you can tell it's all the way down to -1. -1 is bad. If you're looking at your phase correlation meter, you want this at +1. Okay, as soon as I mute it, it goes back up to +1. If it's around 0, you don't really want it around 0. You want it in the +1. You might see it fluctuate a little bit, maybe go around halfway. You don't really want it around 0, as I'll get into here in a minute, and you definitely don't want it on the complete opposite end, which is right here at -1, because that's basically complete cancellation, complete phase cancellation. So once again, mono. You can see it right here. It's still getting signal. The signal's still going. I haven't muted anything, but I've just put it in mono, and you're hearing phase cancellation. Also, by the way, what I'm using right here to flip everything into mono is the A1 stereo control. This is a free plugin. If you're down for free plugins like I am, would really recommend this plugin. Yeah, but if you're looking to flip into mono and do all that kind of stuff, really any sort of stereo plugin in any sort of DAW will have probably a mono switch on it. So look for something in your DAW that says like stereo enhancer, and then just look at it, and it'll probably have a mono switch. So yeah, but I would really recommend this plugin just to go pick it up and check it out. My favorite feature with this plugin particularly is the safe bass option, and basically what this does is puts every frequency below whatever you set it to, it'll put it in mono, which is kind of helpful because phase cancellation happens mostly with low frequencies, and you really don't want it to happen with low frequencies. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. So yeah, that kind of gets into a little bit about what phase cancellation is. Once again, if now that I don't have the phase flipped, and then I put it in mono, you can see the phase correlations all the way at +1. I'm in mono, I'm out of mono, doesn't really matter. I flip the phase in mono, phase is flipped, correlation all the way down to -1. We have complete cancellation. Okay, so that is what phase cancellation is. What is why does this matter? Why should I care about this? Another thing, something that you need to understand as a producer, if you're producing music that is being intended on to be played on live big sound systems and at clubs and things like that, what you need to understand is that a lot of these clubs, a lot of them operate in mono, and that's kind of a lot of people don't really know that and don't really expect that. You expect if you go to a club that everything's going to be in stereo, but the truth is that a lot of these clubs, they have their sound systems in mono, and there's different reasons why they would have this. Just how many different speaker setups that a nightclub would have. If you're running a nightclub, you might have your front mains and then your side fills and then speakers, placed all throughout the club, and then you have different speakers that are in the bathroom, and not all of these speakers are going to be in stereo. So, thinking about mono, the way that your track sounds in mono is very important. And the reason that this is kind of fresh on my brain is because I was working on a track that this became an issue with. Okay, so I've been I was messing around with this dubstep track a couple of days ago, and I bounced it down, uploaded it to SoundCloud just to kind of hear and listen to what it would sound like on my phone. And when I listened to it, I realized that one of my bass lines was like completely gone. And this is kind of a typical thing that happens with producers. It's a kind of a common thing that you hear a lot. Producers not checking their mix in mono, and like a DJ, you get up there and you're about to have the drop come in, and you're like, yeah, you're getting ready for it. Then all of a sudden your drop hits and there's phase cancellation and something's completely missing and completely gone out of it. And so this is why it's so important just to check your mixes in mono before you send it off. I mean, just like, listen to it one time and it should jump out at you pretty immediately if something's off, okay? And this is what I experienced with the song that I was working on the other day. I put it on my SoundCloud and I was listening to it on my phone, and all of a sudden I realized something was hideously wrong. But if I was listening to it just in stereo, like when I was making it, the song, I didn't really think anything of it. So here is the drop in question that I had, and it's mainly, the drop kind of begins back here, but it's mainly this one little part right here is when it becomes really evident. So here is what the drop is. All forms of life. So that's actually in mono. Let me play this in stereo real quick. Let me pull this back up. So let me take it out of mono. So here's what it sounds like in stereo. Like I said before I'd heard it in mono, I had no idea that anything was going on. So here's what it sounds like in stereo. All forms of life. You can kind of see my phase correlation kind of goes down. Yeah, so I didn't really think anything of it, and then finally, I'm listening to it on a mono source, which would be my phone. And some phones have stereo now. Like I think the iPhones have stereo speakers on their phone, but my Android, is just a mono whatever. So listening back on this in mono, you can hear that there's just like something missing. You can hear kind of the bass line cut in and out. So all forms of life. Put it back in stereo. So yeah, and that's something that does happen to even big name DJs and big name producers. They'll produce a track and then get out in front of a large amount of people, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, I didn't really check this in mono. So this is just something to look out for. So what I was able to do. Let me get that off of there. What I was able to do is once I heard that, I went back into my project and I looked at my bass patch that I made, and what it ended up being is I was using too many voices, and so I just turned the voices. I think I was using like 4 or something like that. I turned it down to 1, and it really didn't affect the sound that much. It still sounded basically the same, except the phase correlation was fixed. And so I made another mix down, and this is what it sounds like. All forms of life. Okay, so this is in mono. You can tell that the bass line is evident, prevalent. Once again, this was the first version. We're still in mono here, so. All forms of life. Bass line, and this is the other track record. So it was a quick fix. It was a simple fix, but all it really took was just hearing it in mono and being able to hear the phase cancellation. Phase cancellation is something that you need to worry about if you're making electronic music, but it's also something that can happen a lot if you're tracking live drums and live instruments that have a lot of different microphones on it. Like a drum kit, will have 12 to 14 microphones on it. Or if you're miking a guitar cab that has, 3 or 4 mics on it, then, phase cancellation and phase is going to be something that you're going to need to, think about. So, phase cancellation, you know about it now. You're going to look out for it. You're going to start, checking your mixes in mono. Don't make the same mistake I did, guys. So, luckily, I was able to catch the mistake before, I sent it out to be printed or something like that. That's the worst. Like if you would send a song out to the master and you had to upload to Spotify or whatever, and then it was too late to realize that something is terribly wrong in the mono spectrum. So guys, hopefully this helped out, explained a little bit of it to you, whatever. Hopefully you know a little bit more about phase cancellation now. And my name is Atomic Moon. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys next time.